This is the Dolphin E10 automatic robotic pool vacuum cleaner. It turns a cluttered pool floor into a clean slate with almost no effort from me, and it does it quickly enough that I actually use it instead of putting it off. I would put this in the category of simple, floor-focused robotic cleaners for above-ground pools, and for small to medium in-ground pools that need regular touch-ups on the bottom. It is best for someone who wants straightforward cleaning without a mobile application, without a wireless internet connection, and without babysitting the process. If you want a robot to handle the floor while you handle the walls occasionally with a brush, this fits the bill. If you want automatic schedules and waterline scrubbing, this is not that. The design looks clean and modern, with a blue and silver body and plastic that feels dense and sturdy. What matters in daily use is how light it is and how easy it is to grab. I can lift it with one hand using the top handle without straining. That matters when I am moving it from the deck to the water or pulling it out to empty the filter. The floating power cable has plenty of reach for most above-ground pools. In my case, about 40 feet of cable comfortably covers a pool that is around 28 feet long. The only cosmetic detail worth calling out is that everything feels built to be used wet and often. The hinges, the latch for the filter door, and the handle feel solid when I cycle them. Setup could not be simpler. Out of the box, the power supply and the floating cable have a single way to connect. I plug the power supply into a regular outlet, twist the connector until it clicks, and that is it. No pairing, no accounts, no codes. I press the start button, lower the robot into the water, and let it sink. That is the whole process. When the cleaning cycle finishes, it shuts off on its own. I appreciate the simplicity because when I want the pool clean, I want it now, not after a setup checklist. In terms of speed, the E10 finishes a full floor pass in about 1.5 hours in my pool. That window has been consistent across different days, including after a windy afternoon that dropped seeds and leaves. The responsiveness is not about digital settings. It is about how quickly it corrects its path and how determined it is when it hits debris. It does not hesitate. It rolls up to a patch of grit, the brush spins, and it moves on with the dirt gone. Performance lives or dies on two things with a pool robot: how it scrubs the surface and how it navigates. The scrubbing brush on the E10 is active, meaning it spins to actually dislodge grime instead of just gliding across it. That has made a visible difference for me with fine sand and silt that settle after a heavy swim day. Spots that used to smear when I brushed them by hand now lift on the first pass. On the navigation side, it does not wander aimlessly. It appears to map the floor pattern as it goes. I notice straight runs, gentle turns, and deliberate coverage near the edges. It gets right up to the base of the walls in my above-ground pool and circles around ladder legs without getting stuck. Does it overlap some areas? Yes. But those overlaps are minimal, and the end result is an even, consistent, clean floor. Real-world testing is where I decide if a robot stays in my routine or ends up in storage. After a stormy evening, I scattered a handful of small leaves and a couple of smooth pebbles on the shallow side. When the cycle ended, the leaves and the pebbles sat in the filter basket, and the floor looked uniformly clean. After a weekend with kids jumping in and out, I saw a fine layer of grit near the ladder and in the center. The E10 pulled nearly all of it in one cycle, and the remaining specks disappeared after a second start. During pollen season, the default fine filter captured most of the visible particles, but a faint yellow haze returned the next morning. If you regularly battle very fine dust or pollen, the optional ultra-fine filter would be worth it. For my routine use, the included fine filter has been enough. A specific use case that has become part of my week is the quick tidy before guests arrive. I plug the power supply into the outlet, drop the robot, press start, and then go set out towels and glasses. About 1.5 hours later, I pull the robot out, pop open the top lid, lift the filter basket, dump the debris into a yard waste bag, and rinse the basket with a hose. The top load design matters here. I do not flip the robot or mess with clips on the bottom. It is up, out, rinse, click back in, and done. That ease is what keeps me using it instead of skipping a day. On the topic of ease of use, there are a few quirks. The cable can develop a twist over several sessions. I have had the best results when I unroll the full cable on the deck, let it relax, and then drop the robot near the center of the pool. Every few uses, I take a minute to straighten the cable and it behaves. The power supply is not waterproof, so I keep it on a table or a dry step. That sounds obvious, but it is worth saying because the temptation is to set it on the coping edge. Keep it dry and shaded and it will last. One of the smartest choices in this design is the simple filter basket. It is rigid, it clicks in and out without fighting me, and it is large enough that I never have to empty it mid-cycle. The flow through the basket stays strong even with a mix of leaves and grit, so the suction does not drop off halfway through. The other smart choice is the way it approaches coverage. The E10 is not trying to climb walls it cannot handle. It commits to the floor and does that very well. By not pretending to be a wall climber, it stays planted and efficient. There are limitations you should know about. This cleaner is focused on floors. It will not scrub walls or the water line. I still brush my walls by hand every week or so, and that has been fine for me. There is no mobile application, no remote control, and no built-in schedule. If you want your cleaner to start at sunrise every day without you touching a button, you will want a different model. For me, pressing one button when I want a clean floor has been a non-issue. Durability has been encouraging. I have been running the E10 around 2 times a week for more than a month, pulling it in and out, bumping it along the deck and washing the filter with a hose. No rattles, no cracks. The brush still has a firm bite. The drive feels strong. Pool gear lives a hard life with sun, heat, and chemicals. So far, this holds up better than other plastic gadgets I have owned in the same environment. If you are wondering about noise, it is almost a non-factor. There is a gentle hum under the water and nothing that would interrupt a conversation on the patio. If you are wondering about energy use, I cannot give you a lab number, but I can say I have not seen a noticeable spike on my bill with twice weekly cycles. A small tip from regular use. When the cycle ends, I let the robot drain for a few seconds before lifting it fully out of the water. The body design lets water rush out quickly if I pause near the surface. That saves my back and keeps dirty water from splashing back into the clean pool. I also store the robot in a shaded spot, not in direct sun. The plastic looks better for it. If I had to sum up the experience, it is this. I press one button and my pool floor gets clean in about the time it takes me to handle the rest of my backyard chores. I do not think about it while it runs. I do not clean it for longer than a minute when it is done. I do not dread using it. That is what makes it useful. Who should consider the Dolphin E10? If you have an above-ground pool and you want a reliable floor cleaner with zero fuss, this is a strong option. If your pool collects sand, leaves, and the usual backyard debris, the active brush and smart coverage will keep it under control. If you want wireless scheduling, wall climbing, or waterline polishing, this is not your match. For me, as someone who values simple operation and consistent results, it has earned a spot in my routine. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel and drop your questions or your own experience in the comments. Thank you for watching.